Star Trek is a franchise full of unique starship designs, ranging from the iconic Starfleet-style ships of the Federation to more exotic vessels like Borg Cubes. But while all of these ships were undeniably cool, some of them were more fearsome than others. Many ships, both in Starfleet and in other factions' fleets, were heavily armed and designed for combat, and a select few were so heavily armed that they far outclassed most other vessels of their size. It's those particularly dangerous ships we're going to be looking at today. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then hit that subscribe button for more stories from the final frontier. Click the links in the description to join our Discord server, or find us on social media channels such as BlueSky and Instagram. If you're interested in supporting the channel, click the join button for some extra perks and a chat with the Trek Central crew. You can also help us decide our next YouTube video and maybe take part. Okay, engage. First, let's look at the Breen Interceptor, identified in Star Trek Online as the Chel-Gret class battlecruiser. This is the primary capital ship of the Breen Confederacy in the late 24th century. While canon is a little vague about this ship's specifications, according to Star Trek Online, this ship clocked in at 420 meters in length, 365 meters in width, and 97 meters in height. These asymmetrical, claw-shaped vessels had crews of over 630 personnel each, and they were remarkably fast and agile, able to outmaneuver a Defiant-class starship. The Chel-Gret class was well shielded, and its shields were strengthened by the stochastic field emitters. Once these shields collapsed, however, the Breen Interceptor was quite brittle and easy to destroy. It featured a breaching pod for boarding actions, a complement of 14 Breen fighters, and some expanded media sources claim these ships also came with cloaking devices. As a dedicated warship, the Chel-Gret was naturally well armed as well. It boasted 2 Type 10 disruptors, 2 Mark 75 photon torpedo launchers, and most importantly, a unique Breen energy disruptor weapon. This ship was formidable all around, but this last feature truly made the Chel-Gret class dangerous. The Breen energy disruptor drained target ships of power, leaving them dead in space and easy targets for the Breen's conventional weapons. During the Dominion War, a single hit from a Breen energy disruptor was enough to cripple a Starfleet vessel. The Breen's energy dampening weapon inflicted the worst major tactical defeat upon the Federation Alliance in late 2373, during the Second Battle of Chintoka. This resulted in the destruction or damage beyond repair of over 300 starships. Notably, the USS Defiant was among the casualties. Starfleet was eventually able to retrofit its ships to render them immune to the weapon's effect. During the periods in which the energy disruptor was effective, it made the Chel-Gret class a game changer, allowing it to completely neutralize target vessel shields. The Chel-Gret class was first seen during the late stages of the Dominion War, in which the Breen used it to great effect against the Federation Alliance. The vessel's energy disruptors allowed the Breen to carry out an attack on Earth, and win the Second Battle of Chintoka. They might have won the whole war for Dominion had the Cardassian Liberation Front not captured an energy disruptor for Starfleet to reverse engineer. Ultimately, the Chel-Gret class lost its edge after that point, but it continued to be a threat in the years after the Dominion War, especially after the Breen upgraded their energy disruptors so they could cripple Starfleet vessels once again. Our next ship is downright absurd, but it's from lower decks, so that's to be expected. We're talking, of course, about the Pakled Clumpship, a modified class of Mondor-type starship used as an attack ship by Pakled rebels. The Pakleds were renowned for their breathtaking lack of intelligence, so it was a wonder that they ever achieved warp capability. Still, they could acquire advanced technology through trade or by stealing it from more intelligent species. By the mid-2360s, Pakled vessels were classed with a Mondor-type starship, a small and very basic vessel that lacked warp capability, and was equipped with only basic weapons and shields. Roughly half of its components were appropriated from the Romulans, Klingons, Gerada, and many others. But by the 2380s, with the assistance of a renegade Klingon Captain Dorg, Pakled rebels had upgraded these ships into genuine threats. These Pakled Clumpships were warp capable, and they were armed to the teeth of weapons from a variety of sources. Clumpships boasted dozens of phasers taken from 30 different species, as well as mining arms for crushing target ships into salvage. Technological influences from the Klingons, Ferengi, Romulans, Arconians, and Bajorans made Pakled Clumpships generally dangerous, and able to defeat much larger Starfleet vessels with ease. In 2380, a group of Pakled Clumpships destroyed the Starfleet vessel USS Solvang, and they nearly also destroyed the USS Cerritos. The Cerritos was ultimately saved from the humiliation of being destroyed by Pakleds by the Lunar-class USS Titan, but Pakled Clumpships continued to be a nuisance for years afterwards. Moving on, we have the Shrike, a unique and extremely dangerous starship captained by Vadic, the leader of a rogue changeling faction. The beast was 659 meters in length, and both its origins and most of its capabilities were shrouded in mystery. All we know for sure about the Shrike is that it had powerful shields and an incredibly large arsenal of weapons. It was armed with standard tractor beams and reverse tractor beams with anti-gravitational polarity phasing, the latter of which could be used to fling a starship caught in the beam. It boasts a portal weapon, sold from Daystrom Station, dozens of phasers or disruptors, 20 pulse wave torpedoes, 18 antimatter missiles, 40 isolytic burst warheads, 88 plasma torpedoes, and around 236 proton torpedoes. This vast arsenal, described by 7 of 9 as every weapon known to Starfleet, and then some, made the Shrike a serious threat to virtually anything it came across. It completely outgunned Starfleet vessels of similar size, and is in running of the title of the most heavily armed ship in Star Trek. The Shrike took to the stars somewhere towards the end of the 24th century, after the end of the Dominion War. The Shrike was the flagship of Vadic's rebel changeling faction, which broke from the rest of the Great Link in order to seek revenge against the Federation for the Dominion's defeat. In 2401, it attacked the SS Ilios and the USS Titan A, destroying the former and severely damaging the latter. The USS Titan was ultimately able to escape this attack, and it later destroyed the Shrike with a volley of photon torpedoes in a later engagement. Even the Shrike, however, was outclassed by our next vessel, the species 8472 energy-focusing ship, identified in Star Trek Online as a Dactylus-class frigate. This was an exotic class of organic starship designed by species 8472, originally from the adjacent dimension of fluidic space. The Dactylus was small and similar in design to standard species 8472 bioships, but had far greater power. Along with the standard 2 fluidic anti-proton beam arrays, 2 bioplasmic warheads, and biopulse beam weapons, the Dactylus-class frigate could also concentrate the beam weapons of multiple other bioships to generate a beam of immense power. When working with at least 8 other bioships, a Dactylus could create an energy beam capable of destroying an entire planet. This incredible firepower of these bioships allowed species 8472, otherwise known as the Undine, to give even the Borg a run for their money. The Dactylus' destructive capabilities were even more impressive, considering how small the ship actually was. This ship was a rare instance of a true planet killer in Star Trek, and the Federation was fortunate that species 8472 never got beyond the Delta Quadrant with them. If you've played Star Trek Online, you know the rest of that story. Species 8472 deployed these vessels extensively during their invasion of the galaxy and war with the Borg, using Dactylus-class frigates to destroy hundreds of Borg worlds. The Borg proved utterly unable to defeat species 8472 on their own, and they only made headway in their war when they allied with the USS Voyager, the crew of which had easily developed nanoprobes capable of destroying species 8472 ships. The deployment of these warheads convinced species 8472 to withdraw from their war with the Borg, and eventually return to fluidic space. As a quick note, the Dactylus-class frigate wasn't the only planet killer in Star Trek. During the 2150s, a faction in the Temporal Cold War, the Spear Builders, manipulated the Xindi into developing a planet killer to destroy Earth. This spherical weapon was manned by a skeleton crew, and built with technology from the 26th century, which would have allowed it to wipe out the human race had it not been destroyed by the crew of the Enterprise NX-01 and friendly ships. In the 23rd century, Starfleet also encountered an automated probe from another galaxy, known only as the Doomsday Machine, which destroyed planets to convert their remains to fuel. We've done a video on the Doomsday Machine if you want to learn more about it. I'll leave a link in the video description below. Our next ship is the Borg Cube, the most iconic vessel of the Borg Collector's vast fleet. There are many different variants of this distinctive spacecraft, but every Borg Cube was a significant threat. So much, but we will address them all at once. In the late 24th century, the most common seen variety of Borg Cube was enormous, measuring 3,037 meters on each side. It had a decentralized interior design, as with all Borg craft, and vast hordes of Borg drones manned it. Borg Cubes were extremely fast, able to reach warp 9.9 and make use of transwarp conduits. Their rapid regenerating shields, which were actually subspace electromagnetic fields rather than proper energy shields, could quickly adapt to nullify energy-based attacks, and the hulls were self-repairing. Borg Cubes were armed with shield-depleting tractor beams, cutting lasers, more conventional beam weapons, and various kinds of missiles, which could be tuned to destroy or just disable target vessels. Against most foes, Borg Cubes were a mobile apocalypse. Just one was enough to destroy fleets of unprepared enemy craft and assimilate entire planets, and destroying a Borg Cube was exceptionally difficult. In its first encounter with the Borg, the Galaxy-class USS Enterprise D only escaped destruction through the intervention of Q. When Starfleet next went up against the Borg, without Q's assistance, it was utterly trounced in the Battle of Wolf 359, in which one Borg Cube destroyed 39 Starfleet vessels. The Borg Collective maintained a fleet of millions of Borg Cubes in their core territories, a vast armada that swept across the Delta Quadrant, assimilating everything in its path. Starfleet was fortunate that it never had to face the full might of a Borg armada. It only ever fought battles with individual Borg Cubes far from home, and even then, all of these battles incurred staggering casualties. As a quick mention, we'd also class the Borg Tactical Cube as a dangerous starship. You can check out our full video here on the Trek Central channel. Of course, for a most dangerous starship, we've got to talk about a one-of-a-kind vessel, the Riemann warbird Scimitar. With a length of 890 meters and a wingspan of 1,350 meters, this ship was pretty huge, and it was a one-of-a-kind vessel, built in secrecy by the followers of Shinzon, a clone of Starfleet Captain Jean-Luc Picard, created by the Romulans. This ship was tough and featured 2 layers of shields, and had a highly advanced cloaking device that generated a perfect cloak, which remained active even at warp or with the shields active. The Scimitar was also heavily armed, boasting 52 pulse disruptor cannons, 27 photon torpedo launchers, and a Falaran cascading biogenic pulse weapon. The last weapon deployed a concentrated pulse of Falaran radiation, which could destroy all organic matter within a large blast radius. The Scimitar was built around this weapon, to deploy enough radiation to cleanse an entire planet of life. This gave the Scimitar tremendous destructive capabilities, but even without this, the Scimitar was still quite dangerous, given its extensive conventional weapon array and advanced cloaking device. The Scimitar was a key component of Shinzon's plans to take control of the Romulan Empire and destroy the Federation. Built by Shinzon's Riemann followers, with the cooperation of elements within the Romulan military, the Scimitar served as Shinzon's base of operations and as his main weapon. Following the success of Shinzon's coup, the Scimitar set out for Earth, planning to use its radiation weapon to cleanse the planet of life, but fortunately, it was destroyed en route in a battle with the Enterprise E. Now, I said the Scimitar was one of a kind. However, in Star Trek Online, it is shown the Romulan Star Empire and its successor organizations constructed more of these ships. Typically, they were used as flagships. Our next ship is also of Breen design, the 32nd century Breen Dreadnought. This absolute leviathan was one of the largest ships ever seen in Star Trek. We don't yet have any sources for its exact size, but given how utterly it dwarfed every Starfleet vessel it came into contact with, it had to be many kilometers in length. This juggernaut of a ship was densely armoured and shielded, and its crew was no doubt enormous. The Breen Dreadnought boasted a cloaking device and was not only warp capable, but also capable of accessing transwarp conduits. Shield tunneling technology allowed the Dreadnought to beam boarding parties onto enemy ships through their shields, and the vessel also boasted vast numbers of torpedo launchers and directed energy weapons. Unlike the Breen Interceptor, the Dreadnought wasn't dangerous because of any one weapon, but because of how much conventional firepower it came with. The Breen Dreadnought was a fleet killer, able to shrug off plenty of punishment and utterly smash almost any opposing force. The Breen Dreadnought popped up sometime in the 32nd century, in which they served as flagships of the various factions of the Breen Imperium. The most powerful Breen warlords controlled multiple dreadnoughts. Primarch Tahal had a fleet of at least 3, for example. Breen forces under Primarchs Tahal and Ruin deployed their dreadnoughts in standoff and skirmishes of Starfleet during their race to discover the secrets of her progenitors. Fortunately for Starfleet, most of these encounters were resolved without bloodshed. Ruin's dreadnought did fight a battle with the Discovery, but the Discovery ultimately triumphed by using a spore drive to send the dreadnought into the galactic barrier. An honourable mention goes to the Voth city ship, seen in Star Trek Voyager. We don't know much about this vessel to really class it as a dangerous starship, but this was massive. This city ship is one of the largest vessels to appear in Star Trek, measuring at 11 kilometers in length. The city ship was also transwarp capable and served as the center of the Voth civilization. The ship could simply catch up to other vessels, like the USS Voyager, and beam them inside. Once the vessel was brought inside the city ship, it used a dampening field which would render items like phasers, tricorders, and a starship's main power inoperative. In Star Trek Online, the Voth city ship is known as the Citadel class, with many vessels of this design being used as dreadnoughts in the Voth military. So that's a look at some of the most dangerous starships in the Star Trek universe. We hope you've enjoyed it, and if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.